Welcome everybody to Route 66. We got the same lineup here that Eagle Gaming used to take down those guys just yesterday, then closed out the series today. Unfortunately for them, they took that loss, but still using that same lineup, so I expect good things out of them. But still, going up against an Ence Esports team that has struggled to much the same degree as Eagle Gaming, I don't know. It's going to be a close one here, but surely is a big deal because it's going to determine who actually does make it into the playoffs.
And of course, if you're a fan of Eagle Gaming and their plays, it's all down to this particular series, because if they lose this one, they're out. And just looking at the current composition building up for them on the defensive side of things, Nico, when it comes to Route 66 in particular, had a lot of big plays with that pulse bomb, really shutting down the support lineup of those guys in that particular matchup. So definitely not too unexpected of him to go for that one. And this time around, no Reinhardt over on defense. It will be that Orisa.
So Nox bringing that out again and going to be, I think, providing the shield up top there for Hardest, who is on the Soldier. And then he does, I think, land it there, and he gets it. So Hardest, oh, he missed it. He missed it. So now Hardest not going to have that block. Yeah, no shield for him, not today. So they're going to be backed up to Big Earls now, sitting on top of the gas station here and utilizing that Orisa still. They do like to play the D.Va here as the off-tank with the Orisa. A lot of times you'll see a Roadhog, but certainly preferring the mobility that you get and the defense matrix that Getamaze really likes to play with, especially with that D.Va there as well. But a nice pick to start things off from Hardest. Olba being eliminated just out in front of, basically out in no man's land there. Does get eliminated. They're going to go ahead and push them back as Olba makes the swap over to Genji to make this second push.
They're going to commit to a more heavier dive composition just because Olba wasn't really left to have any potential sidelines onto their opponents, really. And maybe now that he's going to go ahead and support Lolly with the rest of his tank lineup, they could do more, as he's going to switch right in. Hardest, though, picks up the first kill onto Lolly. Looking for more Nox, still standing strong, halting a position there on Big Girls, and kind of pushing the opposition away as they will try to get some distance on that payload. But both of the supports now going down for Ence Esports is going to make it easy for Eagle Gaming to hold.
Falling off the side, I mean, Eagle Gaming has made this look clinical so far. Very, very composed right now in their efforts. Really silencing Ence Esports as Elfie makes a swap over to that Lucio, getting everybody back into position. See ENC collating right now, right underneath that bridge around this corner, as they're going to look to try to attack, but certainly going to have a struggle with it, I think, because Hardest does have this tack visor. They're jumping right into it. Very aggressive. We see the Discord coming out as well. Finally, the D.Va comes into play as well, and they're finding these first two kills.
It's going to be good, but some answers coming out of the lineup of Eagle Gaming, and now Bod getting Hardest as well as Hip back up is going to be big, potentially, as Hip rapidly approaching that Transcendence, going to make quick work of this team fight if need be. But now Nox still dishing out a lot of damage. Olba's gonna survive for now. Ruip, though, gonna go down. Elfie still alive on that support, but nobody left on that payload. It means they're gonna be halted once again.
Hardest again making a big impact play alongside Nico, as Nico comes away with the pulse bomb. We also see Hype holding onto that Transcendent. That's going to be big here, especially you look at that Blade. Need to deny that. Need to make sure that he doesn't secure too many opening picks while pulling that out. So now we'll have to see what the pulse bomb can create as Nico is hunting. He's just sneaking his way on by. Oh, throws it out, but we do see Ruape actually jumping through with the Primal Rage, so he dodges that completely.
But Olba picking up that first kill is going to enable him to just use a Dragon Blade. Finds the second one to Ba, which is big. A return. Self-Destruct is going to get one kill on each side. But overall, finally, Ence Esports are getting the results they were looking for.
Really good, impressive performance, I would say, from ENC. You know, they were struggling a bit. Really kind of silent so far in their attack. But finally, popping off a little bit. Olba hanging on to that Blade. Hype forced the Transcendence actually by Ruape, who just ran forward, and they got those first kills and just went from there.
Ooh, but Hip once again picking up some kills, and somehow, some way, Eagle Gaming collapse onto this payload and pick up the respective kills rather that they need. And with that final one to Snappy, they make sure to stop him right before they reach that objective.
So now we're down to 20 seconds, a bit of 15 seconds make it at that, actually. And we don't see really too many options here, as Olba really wants to have that Dragon Blade in this one, but he needs a little bit of healing, and he needs a lot of ult charge, as basically they're going to be leaning on that sound barrier from Elfie. They have the pulse bomb from Lolly, as that's going to be looking to go out. He throws it out, doesn't stick to anyone, and the Winston actually jumps away from it, as Hardest is finding tons of kills here. A lot of pressure from up top on Big Earls, where nobody can really deal with him. Finally, Olba does, but the Helix Rocket finds the kill. Lowly trying to turn things back around, but he doesn't have a lot of support here left for him. Transcendence now coming out for Hype. This should surely spell defeat, and what a first point hold it's been so far for Eagle Gaming as they turn back around after disappointing day 1, and somehow now on day 3, making it look slightly better.
And even with the sound barrier coming out of Elf, it's just the last-ditch effort as it's cleanup crew time for Eagle Gaming, and now looking to really send out a message that, hey, we're in this and we're in it to win it.
0-0. Switching sides.
But now that we're gonna go ahead and swap sides here, I can't see a light at the end of the tunnel here for Ence Esports. They're gonna have their work cut out for them, because it's not that far in terms of the overall distance for that payload to be pushed at, and judging by the fact that Eagle Gaming have looked better on Route 66, or one of their strongest showings rather was on Route 66, what can they really do to stop them?
Well, right now, I mean, if you're in the Ence Esports camp right now, if you're in their comms, you know, they're certainly in their own heads thinking, how can we possibly turn this around? They're the only team that hasn't even won a single map. At least for Eagle Gaming, they've shown some promise where they have taken 2 maps so far, and even drawn one on Anubis against those guys, who's a fantastic team currently sitting atop the bracket alongside, you know, Piece of Cake and everything. But I don't know what you do, because it rides on this, and this map is looking dismal at best. If you lose this map in this way, if you don't hold them out for, I mean, at least like an overtime push or something where it's like, okay, well, at least it was close. I don't know what you do for map 2, because then everybody on the team is thinking, oh, it's over. I mean, there's no hope. There's no maps that we can take. We just completely got dominated on Route 66. I don't know where they go from here. But now as we start things up, the defense now has Olba on that soldier. We're seeing something very similar, but Ruape is going to be on the Winston here. So, you know, definitely a little bit of a high risk, high reward style composition here for ENC. This could entrap them a little bit here.
But maybe they just want to go ahead, go for that gamble, potentially just making the most out of it, or rather out of a dire situation, which they're definitely currently in. Because when you look at Eagle Gaming, things are looking on the up and up for them. Hardest now gonna look for those targets. Both bubbles being put down by Winston. Will be forced to disengage there over on the side of Ruape, as he will regroup with the rest of his team, who can't even make a hold over on Big Earls.
Olba now on low ground. You don't want to see your soldier ever in this position, especially when there are flankers in play. A guy like Nico can really kind of take that situation and make it the worst for you guys. And now as Hardest drops, Olba definitely making some big plays, is finding some huge damage, as he has a lot of support now from the Diva in particular, but also Ruape on that Winston, with the barrier being dropped for him as well. And now at least a good start here for Ence Esports, who need to keep this momentum going.
And they should, at least in theory, have the tools to work with, because Olba now good to go with a Tech Visor into this next team fight. Should potentially snowball another team fight win, even with Bot having Valkyrie. If he can get that particular pick off, it will be in huge things for this lineup. But now that we're gonna go back onto the point, we're gonna look for those targets, wait it out, and in the meantime, Hardest will build up a Tech Visor of his own, so there could be a potential answer. Pulse Bomb is gonna go through, doesn't find any targets, but the kills are still gonna be good for the side of Ence Esports.
And I think poor ult usage actually from the mercy of Eagle Gaming, where we see him Valking when the fight is easily lost. I mean, there really just isn't any hope for them to be able to turn this fight back around. I think a big mistake here for Eagle Gaming, because they really would have liked to have seen that ultimate in this next fight, where now they have a lot more options. They have, of course, every other ult available. Tag Visor being one of those. Pulse Bomb, they have the Transcendence as well. So if we see Hype getting pressured down, taken out early. They can res him up, get that Transcendence back into play, but now it's not even really an option, is it?
And we'll see Nox over on to the sidelines. Hardest though, thinking that Ruip is going to be a good first pick. Now Tech Visor though being used alongside the Transcendence. And Nico unfortunately doesn't find the target he wanted. And now Hardest pick up Lala is going to be good because Cali picks up a triple kill in Ence Esport. Hold on strong with a beautiful self-destruct coming out of Cali.
And now everything used for the offense here too. I mean, they utilized everything they could. They used the Valkyrie in the fight before, and maybe that would have been the turn that they needed, but Cali with a huge shutdown, a nice little self-destruct volley tossed up into the air, finding 3 kills for him. But now 1 minute, and now it starts looking bad for the other side. Eagle Gaming now certainly looking like they're in dire straits, and they've had a little bit of a struggle getting things going here on their attack. Both teams really just trying to figure something out here.
1 for 1 is the trade so far, but Cali being D-student means that Hardest will find that particular target, bought under a little bit of pressure coming in from the enemy Tracer, but Hardest still trying to get his team on his back, get Snappy as well, which is a big pick. No potential mercy in this team fight means their staying power is definitely lessened, and it's finally looking good for Eagle Gaming as one last dash, mad dash for that payload is going to come out of this lineup of Ence Esports.
And now we're seeing Elfie swap as well. Cali with a great pick on to get a maze, but still though, Vod with that Valkyrie should keep everybody alive, especially as they go down. They're just going to get rezzed back up. He has that second res charge still available as Hype unleashes the Transcendence. This looks eerily similar to the defense where we saw that Transcendence holding out just long enough for everybody to stay healthy in that final push. But now Hype under fire a little bit. Tracer searching around. Lolly trying to find a kill as he's coming back into the fray, staying on the point. They eliminate him as well. 2 seconds now on the clock. They're trying to get this last push finished out, and they do indeed. It's Eagle Gaming squeaking out a win here on Route 66.
But oh man, much closer than would have expected. Really, just Ence Esports still not going down without a fight.
Play of the game.
This is now the second win on this map here for Eagle Gaming, and certainly a pillar of hope for them as well going forward, not just in terms of having this map in their pocket and certainly loving the fact that it somehow got drawn here for them, but also just taking that first win and moving into the next match where hopefully they can take it for themselves and get ahead in the group standings.
And we'll see what will happen next as we move on to a short commercial break. Don't go anywhere.
So just a couple days ago, Ence Esports was cut down by those guys here on Hanamura, and now have another opportunity up against Eagle Gaming. And should they win this, they'll be pretty much securing their, if they win this series, rather, they're pretty much securing this. So they have to win here on Hanamura to at least take this into a game number 3. We'll, of course, go into a control map. But so far for Ence Esports, it's been a rough ride. They haven't won any maps yet. They had a real good shot at it just moments ago on Route 66, but cut short, and now not looking like they have the best of morale, especially after losing one of their players due to personal reasons and bringing in Elfie, who admittedly has done quite a good job, I would say, coming in cold like this. And he was their coach before, so I imagine there's some synergy at least there.
For sure, and having that extra voice in-game definitely could help out, making sure he picks out the appropriate strategies and potentially even do a little more of shot calling. But now that we will be moving on to Hanamura, when it comes to the defensive side, we'll actually see Hardest pick up the McCree with Leaf on that Junkrat.
It's interesting to see. We see the Junkrat and the McCree, so if we see Ruape getting a little bit too aggressive and going out in front of Cali where he can't actually get that defense matrix up to help him, Ruape will get busted down quick, man. He will really get ruined there. So they're going to probably play it a little bit slower here and allow Olba the opportunity to start getting into a better position, start seeing if they can find some picks. But again, kind of denying the sight lines here for Olba.
Oh, but Ruape trying to find a target will be taken down. Olba, though, manages to get Leaf at the very least, will be brought back up by Hip, and as a result, making it a 6v5. But with the Resurrect coming through on the offensive side as well, it's going to equalize things once more, and Olba, so far, not really contested too much. And now he gets another one onto Nico, and Hardest, even though he answers with another kill, it's still a pretty messy team fight. 2 ticks already achieved, but Leaf has other plans in mind.
He's going to back them up a little bit, get out that last little bit of damage to take the D.Va out of mech and kill off the baby coming out of it. Olba has had a pretty solid few picks so far for himself, but overall it's not enough to just secure that push on the first try. And now going in for round 2 here as he's trying to take this D.Va from Nico down low. And it's interesting to see Nico back on the D.Va. Reminds you a little bit of the Rogue days as he's been predominantly playing DPS for Eagle Gaming so far.
And Leaf was usually the one to pick up that particular hero, but since I do expect Leaf to be definitely the better Junkrat seemingly so far, it seems like it will be the choice for them. And he does have the Riptire at the ready. Isn't it quite a good position to use it as? Actually, Hip is going to go down, and he will actually fall. Oba picking up a double kill, now making that a triple. Oba definitely popping off for this Ence Esports lineup.
Certainly enabled by the rest of this team as well, as he hasn't really been shot at really kind of at all. Nobody's been really jumping at him. They have that composition that could potentially have that come out, but here we see an interesting change. Leaf, for the 3rd time, if I'm not mistaken, now pulling that Doomfist back out and looking to try to shut these guys down.
We'll see if it's gonna pay off, as we'll see Lolly pick up another kill onto Pipu. Ruabe gets another one. Hip, actually, the one to take matters in his own hands, gets down Olba, and Leaf with a beautiful kill onto Snappy is gonna be potentially good enough for Eagle Gaming to hold here.
And they're gonna back this D.Va out as well. We will see Leaf actually making quite a big statement, rather.
Did he get the opposing Mercy midair with that rocket punch?
I'm not sure. I actually wasn't watching him the whole time, so I didn't get to see it myself, but he's coming away with a lot of charge towards that meteor strike, which is something to certainly something to look at here for sure, as Olba still on this Widowmaker, has this Infrasight available, getting into position now. We're gonna have to see if he can find some picks or if Leaf is gonna try to get aggressive with that meteor strike, which is certainly a possibility. Has to wait for that hook to come out.
Pipu does have the Transcendence if need be, just to stall for time or keep his teammates safe, as we will actually see Nox dive in with Nico. No real targets found overall. Ruabe, of course, good to go with that Primal Rage if need be, but Olba will manage to find Leaf somehow in that engage. And now Hardest answers with a really big pick onto Snappy.
Up until this point, Olba has been steadily, just so safe here, Run. She's been just so much space created for him, and now we're finally seeing things turn around. Leaf actually just going to come back from respawn, start knocking people around again, really dishing out a ton of damage, and they're going to get this late kill onto the D.Va, just push him out, delay him, probably try to get a little bit of body block here as well, and they do indeed. They're really taking their time with them. 4 minutes on the clock now for Ence Esports is where they got stopped just before, when they were on Hanamura up against those guys. Now it's up to Eagle Gaming to see if they can stop them themselves and take this win and potentially secure themselves a spot in the playoffs.
And they didn't even give up one single tick on that objective. And now going into this next team fight, if you are Ence Esports, you do have at the release a pulse bomb. Want to make sure Lolly has some sort of room to just go in, get one particular pick, could enable the rest of his team to collapse on top of the point. But so far, Meteor Strike is at the ready. Gets one kill though, doesn't even need it, as kills are still flying on for this lineup of Eagle Gaming.
We're seeing them getting aggressive now too, and this is where Eagle Gaming feels the best, when they're just able to kind of control these fights, control the pace of them, especially when you see them having that Doomfist. That's a big pickup for them, because now he's going to be able to use that Meteor Strike and really put some pressure down onto that backline, try to steal a kill out onto Olba potentially as well, which could really deny that push outright if they eliminate that mid to long range threat of the Soldier 76.
And of course, since it is defensive spawn favored, Hip did make the swap over to the Ana, interestingly enough, and so far has had some pretty good success with those nades, as well as just making sure the rest of his team is safe. But now Leaf forced to use that meteor strike. He's gonna look for those targets. Is not gonna find anything. He's just gonna play it safe, make sure he stays alive, and Nox will be the first one to go down.
And that's another use that you can see from Meteor Strike, is just utilizing it to get away and create a safe opportunity for you to exit that fight. That's exactly what he did. He pulled away and then got himself a nice little starting pick onto the soldier who had no idea he was there, and still starting out on this fight now. Self-destruct comes out, not going to find anything, so Callie now going to re-met, come back into it. But in the meantime, Ruabe has been on the point this whole time. Transcendence coming out now from Elfie here, that he was the ex-coach throughout 2017 for this roster, now coming into play as he's backing away from Leaf, who's just set his sights now onto the D.Va, very close to the Meteor Strike, but they don't have that Mercy. They have the Ana instead, and now Sleep Dart gonna come up. They could go ahead and put Ruiv to sleep, but not going to be necessary. He's going to go ahead and clean up the kill onto the Ana, as well as help with that Zenyatta, but they're still going to be backed up here. They're still going to make the hold. Eagle Gaming now down to 140 left to defend with, and they still, again, have that Nano Boost, as well as the Meteor Strike.
And that was a very beautiful bubble coming out of Nox, shutting down Cali's self-destruct, which could have at the very least, I believe, find 2 targets. So very nicely done there by him to make sure that is definitely not going to be the case. And as we go into this next fight, Olba needs to stay safe and needs to make the most out of that attack visor. He's going to be looking to go over from the side. The rest of his team, so far, no targets really going down. And Hardest' post bomb is going to be eaten up by Cali.
Leaf has just been juggling people over here. Every time they come over to this high ground, he just knocks them into the wall and then throws them into the air. It's been very, very effective so far as he pulls the Meteor Strike out, as he got pretty aggressive on the Zenyatta right now, comes down, will find that kill, and now just has to get away if he can. And luckily for his own safety, his team is there waiting for him, and they're now going to get another opportunity to just delay Cali's return back to the mech and back to the fight.
And here again, the problem is Olba, even though he's been sitting on the attack visor for a while, just not really enabled to use it at pretty much for the entire fight. So now that we're gonna go into the next one, which would very well be the last fight of this particular round, we will see Pipu at the ready with that Transcendence, and with that ultimate enough, if they can take out the opposing support line, they should be in it for the win here.
People right now with that Transcendence, again, they're still holding on to that Ana, who's just kind of insulated the back left there. They're going to try to jump onto the point here just to get that overtime forced out. Transcendence comes out, heals hype up. They have a couple of kills on the board already as Olba takes out the tack visor. Shutting it down is the defense matrix from Nico, but not enough. They find the kill onto the Ana as Pipo comes out of the Transcendence, and now it's one of Elfie's coming through as they're going forward. It's contested even still. Obviously, the defense with a huge advantage in terms of respawn time. Now as they come back, it's Leaf back on the point, just trying to control it. Snappy somehow staying alive on the Mercy. Overtime will tick down as the Sleep comes out. Hype with a huge play, shuts down the offensive, and they will stop them at 58.4%. Once again, Ence Esports unable to take that second objective here on Hanamura.
And oh man, he didn't only have great sleep darts, but even better bionades throughout the whole round. So now going into this next one, it's going to be really tough for Ence Esports. If you are the Finnish lineup, you might be thinking, okay, maybe the best play here would be to potentially get a win by achieving a full hold on that first point, but it's so rare to see here.
And now we're seeing Leaf looking like he might actually go back over to the Doomfist, and this is really big here. I mean, you know, when you look at the weight of this matchup and how it could potentially determine, or very well, probably will determine, you know, who winds up going into the playoff stage or who winds up going home feeling quite disappointed, especially on the side of Eagle Gaming, who a lot of people were looking at the roster and saying, you know, how could they fail? Well, this might spell it right here. So obviously, though, looking really good at the moment. I would imagine that their morale is a lot higher than what it's been in their previous matchups right now. But, you know, going forward, 58.4% is the control percentage to beat on that second objective should they get there. You have to imagine, though, at this rate that they will get there, especially with their performance and having Nox at the helm as well. Really doing a great job with target calling for them as well. I have to imagine this should be in the bag for Eagle Gaming.
But considering their current composition, if they don't make any swaps, it's going to be a really interesting one, because Leaf, would you expect him to go over onto the sidelines, potentially just be a big nuisance with Hardest? I would imagine he would rather stick with his team and just make some sort of a death ball comp almost.
Yeah, I think that's probably how they're going to do it. They're going to probably try to keep him with Nox as often as possible, and that way they can kind of throw around Ruape as much as they want to, which will give them a lot more control at the front line and kind of open up opportunities for Hardest to kind of get into the back, really kind of try to find some kills in the back there, as well as he's already starting with Olba here. We do see Elfie coming back over onto the point as a slow push starting out here for Eagle Gaming.
And so far, looking pretty good for them overall. They do have that high ground advantage. We'll see the rest of his team, this team just rush down on top of the objective, rather, trying to find an opening as they go from the left-hand side. Nox is going to be able to get snappy, and Elfie going down as well. Even with Olba picking up 1 kill, it's not going to be enough, and Eagle Gaming, with the sneaky map movement, come out on top.
They're going to find the kill on Leaf, who... somehow, with Leaf, you just never see it. You don't expect it, especially with Leaf making a couple of mechanical errors on the Doomfist. But nonetheless, he made a couple, and that made sure that he was going to die off, at least in that fight. But luckily, the rest of his team was just so good about finding those kills. With the way that they set up, how could they not succeed? It's just slow, methodical, great way of just surrounding the point and really just kind of suffocating Ence Esports. Now, again, 58.4% is the control percentage that we're looking at. If Lolly can sneak around the side here, he has that pulse bomb. He needs to shut them down, but 6 minutes on the clock, that's a lot for Eagle Gaming.
But considering they're clumped up, he might find a potential opening. He tries to go for it, doesn't get anything, unfortunately for him. Olba does have the Helix still, which will pick up Hip, does still have the Tech Visor if need be. Pipu is actually going to go ahead and pop Valkyrie. First one to go throughout this fight. We'll get hit back up. Actually, Meteor Strike by Leaf. Trying to go over on that high ground objective. Now trying to potentially fall down to contest, but Hardest gets through Rape, and as a result, things might still be on the up and up for Eagle Gaming.
I think he was hoping that they were going to try to come over to the point and he could just throw him into the wall against the stairs as well. But that didn't work out for them. Now we see Elfie with that Transcendence could stall this out for just a little bit longer. If this tick goes, well, they almost let that first tick just go away for free. And that would have been disastrous for Ence Esports, but they make the hold, and now with Eagle Gaming forced to walk on back and get with the rest of the team. Lolly saved by a pole there, and now Leaf coming back as well, but still a minute off the clock here, but so much more time left to spare, and they almost got that first tick off of that push. I don't know. This is still incredibly scary for anybody that's an ENCE fan right now.
At the very least, though, they did force most of their ultimates, and now Olba, interestingly enough, will make the swap over to the Widowmaker. And this could pay off huge, but definitely a big gamble potentially here. It is going to mean that Leaf will most likely not have a good time trying to contest him, and Nox is going to go down, self-destruct, it's going to fall through, but Lolly is going to be able to pick up a huge quad over on the back of that pulse bomb.
Fantastic placement of the pulse bomb too, as we did see Nico unable to just gobble that one up. I don't even know if they even saw him sneaking around. Nico falls off the map, gonna get his mech back as they swap a couple things around here. The Doomfist is going to be turned off as the Genji for Nico is turned back on. And we see the Diva now being Leaf instead. Hardest now trying to get that ult charge as they're swapping things around. They're going to try to get Hardest into position on that high ground to have a more consistent pressure threat, especially with the fact that the Soldier can really kind of just really be consistent with the way that they control the point. He can heal the back line, especially as Hype is more than likely going to be staying up there with him. So they will have a little bit of support there with him as well. So it's just safer for Hype on top of everything else.
But Nox did get taken down now, and as a result, it's going to make things very difficult. Nico's going to be dropped down extremely low and falls down in the end. But Hardest now coming in with that Tech Visor. Valkyrie's up still, and with these final, or rather upcoming potential kills, it could be big enough for Eagle Gaming. But Ruape still in his face is going to be able to take him down. Olba takes down Hip as well, and somehow, someway, Ence Esport still holds strong.
And they stopped him right before that take of the first tick again. Think about how this looked back on Route 66 and how Ence Esports, faltered on their attack, and then it looked like it was all but over. And then somehow on their defense, it looks like Eagle Gaming just has the same struggles. They just can't solidify and execute to just get something done. They need to get this first tick. They have 3 minutes now, so half the time is already off the clock, and they've made some adjustments, but so far nothing to show for it.
Especially since Lolly now being able to pick up Nico again. This has been one of the strong suits or stronger points here for Ence Esport. As now being a man down, it's going to delay things even furthermore for Eagle Gaming. And time's ticking away. And with all these ultimates available on both sides, it's still going to make it pretty difficult for Eagle Gaming to push through. But if they get one good team fight, that might just be enough.
Now Leaf going forward, protecting his Winston as Nox unleashes the Primal Rage, going right into the back line there to try to take them down. Nico sneaking a kill alongside Leaf onto Cali as he self-destructed. Now they have control of the point. Now it looks really, really good here for Eagle Gaming as they're sending Oba back to spawn and they cap the point.
Lolly unable to get quiet in time back in there, and as said, even though it might be looking better and better for Ence Esports, because that percentage was so little, it was just one team fight away for a win here for Eagle Gaming.
Eagle Gaming sneaking their way through. That pretty much secures it, although Ence Esports have one more opportunity later. They have to beat out Angry Titans. And it's still, do they even have the ability to take it then? I don't know. You guys will talk about it, I'm sure, as we're going to go to a commercial break, and you guys can discuss it further. Don't go anywhere, guys.